Since 1980, politics and civilians in Peru have been terrorized by a communist group called the Shining Path. The original goal of the Shining Path was to destroy existing Peruvian political institutions and replace them with a communist peasant revolutionary regime. But their political campaign soon became pointless, violent attacks against innocent civilians. The Shining Path, once a powerful, organized terror group, has since declined presently due to the irrelevance of their message. The Shining Path was formed in late 1960s by Abimael Guzman, philosophy professor at San Cristobal de Huamanga University. In 1980, Guzman initiated the uprising against the Peruvian government after decades of inequality and marginality. Due to the country's lack of armed forces, the Shining Path easily overtook and gained recruits in agricultural, poverty-stricken areas. This created a drastic divide between rural areas of Peru and urban cities. The Shining Path's operations were funded through narco-trafficking, ransoms from kidnapping, and forced taxes on small businesses and individuals. The Shining Path targeted local authorities and political leaders of their corrupt government. Gradually, the group began to target wealthy citizens and state agency heads, subjecting them to abduction and torture. The Shining Path changed the strategy of their campaign and turned to violent guerrilla warfare against their enemies and civilians. This proved counterproductive for the insurgents because they were unable to capture the hearts and minds of the public through violence. Villagers were subjected to unremitting brutality and abuse from the Shining Path and were unprotected by military or intelligence services. The Shining Path was active in over half of Peru, primarily the central and southern regions. The original message of politics and equality were lost with the scale that Guzman's classroom idea took on. The poor and indigenous populations were singled out, forcing farmers to slash production and destroy all modern equipment. Puritanical regulations outlawing celebrations and drinking were enforced upon Shining Path territory in an effort to strong-arm local populations into submission. Eventually, the Shining Path abandoned its leftist ideology and began to identify leftists as candidates to be kidnapped, tortured, or murdered. This extremely bizarre metamorphosis caused the public to completely turn away from the Shining Path and lean in favor of government efforts to halt the revolutionary efforts. With total loss in public support, leftist political assassinations increased drastically, then dropped after Guzman's capture. Since the 1992 capture of Guzman, untriggered attacks have since been carried out by extremists and supporters. The Shining Path is number 41 on the U.S.'s list of top terrorist organizations. The combined death total caused by decades of conflict have reached at least 70,000. Recent reports show the Shining Path is reorganizing its members and military capabilities to combat the Peruvian state. The Shining Path led a violent communist campaign causing decades of conflict in Peru. Originally, their political presence and message of equality rapidly gained them territory and followers. Due to the loss of their message, violence against civilians, and loss of their leader, the Shining Path lost its presence in Peru, although there are signs of a resurgence.